Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football, and this is our 2026 NFL Draft Prospect Show. Along with me, Joey Clinkscales, former general manager, former personnel director, former scout, former player in the National Football League. Obviously, he played in college as well. And Bian LeBel, our NCAA and NFL analyst. Gentlemen, appreciate you both being here. And today we're going to talk about a University of Tennessee star. Volunteers are really kind of, what are we going to do about this? They're happy that they've got a great player, but he's only a sophomore. Colton Hood, the 6-foot, 188-pounder, he is a speedster, lightning fast, and he can run. He's a good tackler as well. We're going to talk about him all throughout this show here today. We're going to break him down. And Joey, first and foremost, here's a guy that's just down the road from you in just north of Maryville, obviously in Tennessee, right there off the river. He has a little bit of a history, though. Started out at Auburn, so an SEC caliber guy from Georgia. Then he goes to Colorado for a year. He comes back for a red shirt. And he, again, only a sophomore, a young guy. My first question is, does he have what it takes to be able to get to the upper tier where you're going to start making big money, to where it would be a foregone conclusion that most people would say, just go back to school, play another year. Then you don't have to worry about where you're drafted, coming out as a junior. Is that a concern at all for you with Colton Hood?
Well, in today's world, we're living in a different society. I mean, so these guys, they're getting paid in college. So their mindset is, if I'm going to be a starter here and I play pretty good, then the wear and tear on my body, I can be getting paid real money in the NFL rather than doing it in college. So he's a guy that's a redshirt sophomore. So he's played for, he's got 3 years since graduation of high school. So he's eligible for the draft. So he's a kid that, athletically, he's very talented. He's a kid that's pretty fluid in his movement. He does a lot of good things from a press man coverage standpoint. He's really good with his hands. He's really good with his feet in transition, and his ability to stay in phase with guys and even get over the top when the ball is in flight. He does get handsy at times, which can be a little bit problematic for him. But he's a guy that is aware. He's willing in support as a tackler. Doesn't always take good angles when he's off. He'll miss some tackles when he's off in coverage. But if he sees it, he's not afraid to what we call shoot his guns, which means he sees a guy, then he'll try to wrap up and roll up the ankles and the knees. So he's a guy that you like the potential that he has. I mean, he's a 6-foot guy, 195, that runs well at 4.43 supposedly. So the things that you like about him, they translate to the National Football League. His physicality and press. He has to get better with his eyes when he's off. But the things he can do impress, his ability to stay in phase, his ability to run with receivers, his ability to turn and locate the ball, all those things should translate from the SEC to the National Football League.
Real quick, Joey, before I go to Brian, you made a very interesting point. You said 2 things there that maybe our audience, you shoot his gun, meaning that he's going to explode and he's going to bring a guy down to bring him down.
Yes.
And then the second would be he's handsy. For me, that means sometimes he grabs a little bit too much if he's handsy, and he's prone to get a penalty or 2. Is that what you mean by that, or clarify that just for?
That's exactly what I mean. Sometimes he uses his hands too much. He'll every now and again he'll get away with a hold, but you can see him literally on tape with the ball in flight, grabbing a guy. So he'll get away with sometimes, probably not as much in the NFL as he did in college.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. 50 tackles, Brian. 8 passes deflected. He has 1 interception. It was a 23-yard touchdown. He has 1 fumble recovery, 1 forced fumble, and he has a touchdown on a fumble recovery. So he's been in the end zone a couple of times. He knows what that means. But talk a little bit about the defense and what he brings. Is he a shutdown corner, or is he just one of those reliable guys that can play on the outside and possibly might be a nickel early in his career?
Well, I think he's a bit of a ball hawk. I don't think the numbers necessarily speak to that, but there were 3 or 4 instances you could see on tape. There were twice, against Georgia. He had 2 opportunities to make an interception. He just missed it. The ball was just out of bounds, or it just got tipped away. But I think he's very, very good at jumping passing lanes. I think he's very, very good at getting between the receiver and the ball. I think Joey kind of alluded to that earlier in saying, he's he's physical now. Now he'll tell you it's not a penalty, right? If it's not a penalty, he's clean. So he'll tell you the hand checking is fine. But I like that he's not afraid to get up in someone's face. He's not afraid to do some hand checking, even at the line of scrimmage and making tackles. I think that's great. I don't know if I'd have him as a shutdown corner. I think his speed makes him very dangerous. And I think he knows with how quick he is that he can kind of bait a quarterback from time to time and kind of get underneath. I think once he gets a little bit more precise with it, I think he's going to get a couple more interceptions on the docket. And I think that's going to help his numbers. I think people are going to, watch his highlight tape and see more of that. But it's a lot of the stuff you don't see, like making plays in the line of scrimmage, coming up and making a tackle on screen plays, not afraid to dip his shoulder and try to get around a receiver or tight end that's coming out to try to shield him to get his slot receiver in space. He doesn't shy from contact, which some DBs do, but he's 6 foot, 195, but when you watch him play, he seems a little bit bigger. And I think he can kind of do whatever. He's really good man coverage. He can play zone. He did everything Tennessee asked him to do, and he excelled at it. So he does a little bit of everything. He's a jack of all trades, and I think he's a tremendous, still fairly young player.
Joey, a guy that doesn't mind making a tough tackle with the guy over the middle or coming up and doing something on the run. That obviously speaks volumes for the for the average fan who's just going on. I just not want to know if this guy can play on Sunday. That's my biggest and most important thing. Are there any in particulars? For example, he's 6 foot. Do we wish that he was 6'2"? Even though he's not, would that make a big difference? He's been to 3 schools. Does that say something from a draft standpoint? Why is he coming out early when he could be a second or third round, maybe a fourth rounder because somebody doesn't know him very well, and not wait to stick around and let people see him at the SEC level next year and be a first rounder? Are there questions that you have that pertain to any of this that make you wonder, I don't know, I might pass on this guy? Or is that 4.4 speed legitimate to where it solves a lot of problems? I'm looking for a fast, aggressive guy, and he's the one, and I'm going to pick him.
Well, as I said previously, we're living in a different era. So those guys that have 3 years experience that are starters in the SEC that play like this guy played, none of those guys stay. Okay, as soon as you get a rating, you turn your name in, and you get a rating back from a team or a service that says that, I'm going to be a late first or early second round pick, then you're going to put your name in the hat. So it doesn't matter whether you've had 12 starts in your career, 24 starts in your career, 10 starts in your career. Once you get that information back, just from if you're looking at it from a player standpoint and not a fan or a university standpoint, if you're looking at it from a player standpoint, I'm going to strike while the iron's hot, because guess what? Tomorrow's not guaranteed. I can come back next year and try to upgrade my stock. I could also get hurt and be done. So if I'm going to get hurt, I'm going to get hurt in the National Football League,
Okay,
with that salary.
My argument with that is, you know what? If you stayed in school for another year, you might be ready in a way that you're not ready right now, and they may pass on you. Now, if you're a first or second, obviously you're going to stay on a team. They're going to develop you. But if you're there's 100 guys every year that are juniors or younger that come out, 100. And so that means that even if none of the seniors were drafted, one of those guys is going to have to wait till the third or maybe the fourth round before he gets selected, even though he's being told by his family, his agent, all of his buddies, he's going to get picked early. The odds and the numbers don't add up that way.
No,
I'm not talking about Colton Hood specifically. I'm just saying that's a specific problem I have, where some guys should say, I'll wait till my junior or senior year. Please comment. I'm sorry.
And I would agree with you. But those guys who are predicted to go in the first and second round, they've already sent their name in. I was on those committees where they sent the name in, and the teams look at the player and say, hey, they wouldn't give them a round per se. They say, well, we expect you to be anywhere between a first and a third round draft pick. So that way the player has the chance to say, well, they're not guaranteeing me a first round pick. And we never guarantee first round pick. We'd always say, if we thought a guy was a first round player, on that committee, we would always say, between first and third, or first and late second, whatever the deal. Now, on the flip side of that, of course, you have guys that think they're better than they are, think that, that the committee might be wrong. Not all of them send it. Now, we'll get 200 guys a year that will send their name in, okay, that will say, hey, what is my draft stock? What is my draft value? Okay, so that would happen. And, again, on this committee, it's probably 15, 20 teams. So each team would take about 10 players. We don't know who they are. We just get 10 players and we look at them and we send a grade back in the committee, and they go to the player or the player agent, whomever. Okay. Now with today's world, again, NIL, some of these guys are in no rush to do that. I mean, in the past they were, but today they're all getting a little money. Okay. It may not be what they want, but guess what? If you get something you don't like, then you stay. Or, I'm on another committee. There were over a total between FBS and FCS, 10,000 guys in the latest pool in the portal. Okay. Some of those kids aren't going to find another school. Some of those kids, when they go and put their name in the portal, their school's not taking them back. So there are always variables that happen, and this has been going on since college football started. When somebody thinks they're better than they are, and they go and it doesn't turn out well for them.
Yeah. Godspeed to everybody, right? We wish them well, yep. But again, the numbers sometimes are very peculiar in that you've got 100 juniors that want to come out, or a sophomore and junior, and every one of them thinks they're going to be a first rounder. And Brian, the numbers, there's only 32 first round picks, and the numbers don't always add up. So let's talk about Colton a little bit more. There's some things that he does that are fantastic. We love it. We love his speed. We love his SEC readiness. I mean, he's been with 2 SEC schools. Does that say a lot for you, or is that just something that, okay, we know he can play, and now it's just a matter of who's going to evaluate him in the upcoming pro day? And then obviously I think he's playing in the Senior Bowl, and so there'll be other opportunities to see him before the combine and get a chance to know this guy a little bit better to see whether or not he's going to be your first rounder.
I don't know if the SEC thing is a deal breaker for a lot of teams, right? I mean, you got plenty of good players in the Big Ten. You'll find guys in the ACC, right? If you can play, they're going to find you. But I think the fact that he was acclimated so quickly, I think jumping around and still being able to find a spot at an SEC school and having Tennessee chomping at the bits, even though he's already moved around twice, to say, hey, we want to bring you in and give you an opportunity because we think you'd help us win games. And I think a lot of times, too, especially at the collegiate level, if you're fast enough, they'll find a way to use you and they'll find a way to put you on the field. And if you can help them win games, obviously, yes. But I think if you look at his kind of journey, he's fine-tuned some stuff. He has improved, right, from year one. Obviously, everybody does. But I think, we talk about it all the time. You have to show improvement and the ability to get better and learn and be coached, right? I think that's a big deal that a lot of people don't talk about. And going from one environment to the next and still being able to, adapt to that, well, he's a DB. So that DB room, that defensive coordinator, right? That coaching staff, how they do things, the rules. And everybody in Tennessee loves him. He's a great kid, and he has a tremendous football acumen, and he's great on the field. So I think absolutely that does speak volumes to him. But I think more so the play on the field, and I think it's been very, very good. Again, there's a lot of stuff you're not going to see, and everyone's not going to say, well, the average fan is going to look at his interceptions first, right? They're going to look at his pass deflections, and I don't think that speaks a ton of to what he's able to do, because a lot of times his receiver's not open, and obviously as a DB, that's your first priority, right? If they're not targeting my guy, that's a tremendous compliment. If they're throwing away from me, then that means that I'm doing my job, and that means that I've kind of developed that reputation. I think more so that as far as other SEC teams saying, hey, we've seen this kid's tape, we've watched him play. If we can, we'd like to avoid him, and it's the biggest compliment you can get as a defensive back.
Joey, final thoughts would be, can he do anything on special teams that make him different? Is he a punt returner? Is he one of those guys that can keep a gunner from getting down the field? Or is he a gunner himself? Is he a guy that's going to be helping the team as the quote-unquote Swiss Army knife type guy, that he can do more than one thing? He can do plenty of things that are good enough to keep him. What are some of the intangibles in your mind's eye?
Well, he's a smart enough guy, first and foremost. So I think the fact that he's not afraid of contact, he has some physicality. And I think the fact that one of his best features are his ability to play and press will make him an excellent guy over the gunner on punt return team. Now he does have a little bit of return history in his background. He's done that previously. I think he did a little bit of that at Colorado when Travis Hunter wasn't doing it. So I do think he has a little bit of that in his background, but he's tough enough and physical enough that special teams for him should not be a problem. He's tough enough, fast enough, and he's got enough size to play a couple core positions on special teams.
Yeah, in an emergency situation, maybe he goes back and he fields a punt and gets a fair catch, or maybe gains 5 or 7 yards just to help out and do something if the regular punt returner isn't able to do it. And if he's not going to beat that guy out, and a lot of folks have a special guy, ask the Los Angeles Rams, but anything can happen in a big game, and you might get an opportunity to do that. Brian, final thoughts on Colton Hood?
Listen, I don't know where his draft grade would be. I think he's very, very good. And there are a couple positions in football where you cannot have enough depth, and defensive back is one of them, right? You got to have DBs, you got to have defensive linemen, you got to have offensive linemen. And the kid can play, he's fast. And we've alluded to the special teams aspect of it, right? On a couple of prospects already. And I just think he's fast enough to where if, you combine that with the not shying away from contact, I think, yeah, absolutely. He could do special teams. If they ask him to, if a team drafts him and says, hey, we need you to be a gunner or whatever first, and then kind of earn your way on the field, I think he's going to do that. And I don't think he'll have any issue with it. And I think it's another roster spot, right? He can do multiple things, and we're filling 2 holes with one guy, and that's exactly what we need at the next level.
Whether he's playing corner or nickel, if he's a dime guy that comes in, his versatility, obviously, and then as a punt returner as well, be critically important, obviously, early on. He's a young player, guys. He's young. He's from McDonough, Georgia. He's only a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, so he is eligible for the draft, and he is declared. So Colton Hood, 6 foot, 188-pounder, sophomore out of University of Tennessee, a cornerback that we want to feature here on 100 Yards of Football on our Prospect Show. We want to thank you all for being a part of the show here today. We appreciate you, especially now that the draft prospects are going to be a big portion of what we do here at 100 Yards of Football. I want to say thank you to Joey Clinkscales, to Bian LeBel. I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate it. If you like the show, please subscribe, tell a friend.